Hello, everybody. How are you guys doing? Jamie Pottinger here, Strategic Alignment Podcast, and I'm super excited to have with me a friend, a brother, a mentor, somebody who we grew up together, if you want to say it that way, in the hills of West Virginia. And I'm not talking lazy lizard style, I'm just talking about West Virginia. I'm super excited to have with me today none other than my friend, my brother, Sherlon Leon himself. And guys, he has over 17 years of experience dealing with people, a consummate professional and leader, one who takes his craft seriously. And if you've read his bio that we talked about earlier, is that he is a human resource manager in every sense of the word. And that's who he has always been in terms of connecting with people. He's a storyteller, he's dynamic. But before I go any further, I'm going to allow Leon himself to say a little bit about himself, what he does and who he takes care of. And again, Jamie Pottinger here, speaker, coach, and trainer, talent optimization expert with Pottingers and Associates, and I'm your friend. And today we are on another Strategic Alignment podcast. How do you choose the career that is best for you? So, Sherlon Leon, at this point, if you could share with those who are watching exactly a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, okay. Good night, everyone. First of all, Jamie, when you came on, I felt the inclination to respond. Well, what, my brother? Oh my goodness. First of all, I want to thank you for the opportunity to be out here tonight, to share with you and your audience, your tribe. My name is Sherlon. It's indeed a pleasure to be on here. I spend a lot of my time, as Jamie said, working with people in the HR capacity, the counseling capacity, and working with people is a passion I have. I've grown into the philosophy of Ubuntu. I think Nelson Mandela popularized that philosophy. I am as we are, and I feel like the livelihood, the happiness, the well-being of those around me contribute to my own happiness. And so I like to see people develop. I like to see people happy in my environment.
Wow, that's super. Leon, as you said that about Ubuntu, that you say that you just messed up my entire script in terms of my question. So if you
Oh
could
my
just
God.
dive a little bit about what Ubuntu means to you and why is that something that you have taken onto yourself before we dive into career and how important that is, because I know somebody who's listening as they heard that word Ubuntu, what in heaven's sake is he talking about? And as a man who believes in adding value, whether through speech or, and I forgot to tell them that you're a blogger, and you and we'll talk about your different business and stuff like that later on. But when you talk about Ubuntu, why is it that you deem it fit to take that onto yourself, even though the great Nelson Mandela used it earlier?
Uh, when I heard about it, it was on a Netflix documentary. Doc Rivers, former coach of the Los Angeles Clippers, when he worked with the what I consider to be the first big three of this new era, Kevin Garnett, Real, and Paul Pierce. He said he used that term Ubuntu to galvanize the team to success, where everyone's focus was on their brother, ensuring that their brother was in the right spot at the right time to be successful, and for the team to embrace each other's success as their own. And he believes that drove the team. And of course, I did some more research into Nelson Mandela and this African philosophy, which encourages Black people, or people for that matter, to to take special consideration for the well-being of the fellow man. Just imagine a society, Jimmy, where everyone is well taken care of, where no man is wanting, no woman is wanting. That's a peaceful, happy, productive, progressive society. And so I take it upon myself, to embrace this philosophy and to contribute to, at least to help people be the best version of themselves. And hopefully they can reciprocate and help me to be the best version of me And I think in such an environment, all you can have is success. All you can have is high productivity.
Wow, that's powerful. And as you said, always, find, and I'm going to mess with that word before we get to the end, finding the right fit. But as we talk about the conversation here, is that why is it as we talk about career, choosing the right career, is that why is it so important in choosing a career? Why is choosing a career such an important thing? We have a number of persons who are listening here. Some folks are already deep into their careers and their choices, but the question is, why is it such an important thing when it comes down to choosing a career or choosing such a path?
Okay, let me go with my blog. I know this was part of the advertising for the podcast tonight. Life Fit Matters. When I chose the slogan, for me, it meant two things, very similar, but two different things. Your one's life fit is important, it matters, and I want to discuss life fit issues. Okay, so life fit is important, and discussing life fit issues. It's important to establish a good career because one person says you spend 5/7 of your life at work. Your most awake time, your most alert time you spend on the job. And so your choice of work can either make or break you because that's what you're doing every day. Every day you wake up to go to the job. Now, if your job is not fulfilling, you may find yourself, your life, being unfulfilled, your purpose, because you're waking up every day doing something you're going to enjoy. So I think it's important for us to put ourselves in a position where we can be great, where we can be successful. And working in the concept of fit, why your career is very important is because you were made and designed to be a particular person. You have a particular personality type. And so you want to pick a job that matches who you are. So when you talk about the word fit, you fitting yourself into a situation that accommodates you as the person. So that's why it's extremely important.
Wow. So you're touching some hot spots here. So my question to you now is that you're saying a fit, but I think you asked the question, but you made a statement that is better than the question that I asked. And the statement that you made, Leon, is the fact that you have to have an understanding of who you are. Because I wouldn't see myself walking to a store trying to buy a size 15. What you will, Leon, a 15 or a 16? I would see myself.
Difficult, difficult.
I would never ever fit in a size 12. So you're saying something about being aware in terms of career choices. So I think I jumped it a little bit by saying career choices. So how do you go about identifying that part of yourself before you think about a fit? How important is awareness when it comes down to choosing a career path and not choosing a prison sentence?
Okay, so for me, I see self-awareness as a superpower. It's a superpower. And that is why self-aware people are usually very successful. Let me explain. If I were to tell you, Jamie, that you had the power to see yourself in the third person, to see what's before you and what's behind, what's to your left, what's to your right. You had uh, this overhead view of yourself. That's a superpower. If you could come out of yourself and see yourself for who you really are, that's a superpower. You're up there, this helicopter view, strategic view of everything that you do, almost like you're playing a video game of yourself. You'd have an advantage because you know what's coming behind you, you know what's ahead of you. And so it's important for people to be self-aware. Now, let me give you a quick analogy of how powerful and how misleading a lack of self-awareness can be. Many times you see people with ID card photos. There's a photo most of us hate, our ID photo, that mug shot we take on our IDs and our driver's licenses. A lot of us hate it. But when we look in the mirror right before we go to work, and I look into the camera, you look into the camera, and if you think your lips are too thick, you tighten them. If you think your eyes are too big, you squint, you raise your eyebrow up, you pull your nose, and at the end of the day, you have this look. But it's not really who you are, it's the look you like to see. And then I take a photo of you, a driver's license photo, and you're like, oh, I hate this looks ugly. No, that's how you look all the time, my brother. That's you without the tightened lips and the pulled up nose and the squinted eyes and the raised eyebrow. The world sees you like your driver's license photo. That's how the world sees you. We all caught up in this, a lot of us, this incorrect concept of ourselves. We don't know how our voice. I don't have a voicemail on my phone because I hate how my voice sounds. And I listen to a thing, I'm like, oh my goodness, that's how I sound. I turned it off because we don't know ourselves. And so when you have that knowledge of yourself, you're able to navigate life with an advantage. Usain Bolt, the guy is a phenomenal athlete, phenomenal. What, about 6'5", runs like a bullet. I'm pretty sure if he wanted, he could train to run an 800 meter or a 1500. But no, he knows himself, he knows his strengths, and he selected a distance that he can excel at. When you are aware of who you are, when you have that superpower of self awareness, you are able to put yourself in situations to win.
Wow. So what I'm hearing then, Leon, is that many people choose career choices and they automatically make a decision to put themselves in a position to lose because they did not align their superpower, which is their awareness, with the position that they're putting themselves in. So they live in a life of misery. So before I
Correct.
even go ahead, Leon.
No, I said correct. I didn't interrupt. You can go
So,
ahead.
so the question, Leon, is that what are some of the side effects of doing that? And I'm going to tie another question in it because, sometimes we've all had relationships. And I must be honest, my wife, I love my wife, but my wife wasn't my first relationship. You get me? And I've had friends before whereby you thought that you were on that path. And then, you know what? Something happens and Cupid just stopped firing that bow. You get me? And you fall out of love. My question to you, Leon, as an expert where this is concerned, is that can people really fall out of love with their careers? As you talk about awareness fitting into the glove, and I see Ryan Wiggins said something about Ubuntu, and he talked about the 2008 Celtics. But can somebody really fall out of love with the career that they have been practicing for a while? Is that by any means possible?
Well, let me stay with your relationship angle. Would you? A lot of us would not date or marry the person we liked in our teens. Young lady that you were crushing on so badly, or the young man for our audience, ladies out there, you were crushing on so badly in your teens. You look at them now at 35 and you're like, oh my goodness, how could I even? And the same thing goes for careers where you can grow out of a career. You see, when you look at a career as a life fit, we grow and we change. So as you change, you can find yourself probably doing something for too long. And that's another, when you talk about self-awareness, just this weekend I was talking to someone, um, champion in his field, uh, expert in what he does. And he was saying to me, man, I think I'm ready to leave. I'm prepared to leave. He said, I've been doing this long enough. I've been successful long enough. I'm ready to go. And I think successful people, again, being self-aware, as they change, they are able to shift. And and just for our listeners and viewers, it's something that we had to be very deliberate about because you see, it starts with our education system. You go to school and you're taught to solve problems. You learn problem solving, how to get things correct. So what happens is that you go through life thinking, I need to be a problem solver. And guess what? So when the student who is great at math and horrible at English does not want to do English, the teacher says, you need to solve this problem, figure it out. So you leave school and live your life thinking, I'm a problem solver. But what school does not teach you is what problems should I not solve? What problems should I ignore? So one, oh, counting is a lovely thing. You don't feel the fit, but you tell yourself, I need to conquer this problem so you get it done. It pays well, 100K, 150K a year. I want to do this. And you force yourself to figure it out because guess what? I'm supposed to solve problems. I'm not a quitter. I need to solve this problem. But this successful person, this champion of industry I mentioned a while ago, he was able, because he's self-aware, to say, listen, I think it's time for me to leave, time for me to get on because he was self-aware. He was not plagued with this problem of problem solving. So for a lot of us, careers are like a ladder. You put the ladder on a wall, and each step is a problem to solve. And we get a degree, we get a master, we're just climbing up this ladder. And as difficult as it is, we don't care how easy or how natural it comes to us. We solve those problems. And you get to the top of the wall and you realize, oh my goodness, I've been climbing up the wrong wall my whole life. But you're very successfully going up the ladder, disciplined and focused. But you get to the top and you're like, what am I doing here? I'm lost. And so a lot of people change careers, one, because they're self-aware and they know when to quit. And others change because they realize, oh my goodness, I'm going 100 miles per hour in the wrong direction. And so we have to come to a point where we understand that some problems are not worth solving. And successful people know when to decide to quit, when I should step out. You know, Mark Zuckerberg quit school to put himself in a position to be great. And we can go through, and I challenge you, look at the successful people in history. They all knew when to quit. They all knew when to not solve a problem. Let that problem be. That's not mine to solve. So I think career fit, and I would phrase and say life fit would be a better term because a lot of us may never get a dream career. We may never get a dream career, but we may get a good life fit. And life fit, and that's two different things altogether.
Well, Leon, that's tough. You make me want to change the title of our podcast today because life fit matters, man. Life fit matters, and
That's
and
right.
that's his brand here. But as you say about life fit, as you talk about awareness, and as you talk about finding that sweet spot, you said something that was quite powerful. I think many times leaders and people part of teams, as we think about career, we find it difficult to make that tough decision to end our journey in our comfort zone. So our comfort zone is because we've started it. We no longer recognize that the couch is broken. We no longer recognize that the wall needs painting. We no longer recognize that we're heading in the wrong direction. We no longer recognize that we're unfulfilled. We no longer recognize that the relationship is without wheels and we're running on the rim and everything is out of whack. But the question that I like to ask you is, what do you share with somebody who is struggling with making that leap to turn around on the I-95 and head in the right direction? Because as you made mention, you may be on the right highway, but you're heading in the wrong direction. You may be
Correct.
on the ladder, but you're climbing in the wrong way. You may be on a tree, but you're climbing on the wrong branch. You may be eating a
Correct.
fruit, but it's just not the ote iti apple or whatever somebody enjoy eating, or the pineapple, whatever it is. So what do you have to say to persons who their insecurity levels or their sense of security puts them in a position whereby they feel afraid and ashamed and embarrassed to make that move for whatever reason? What do you have to say to persons who are plagued with that mindset?
Now, that's a very good question, and I think for each person it will be different. But I think it starts with defining your purpose, and understanding your reason for the switch. Again, you want to be successful. If you're failing at something, you can do two things. You can learn to overcome the challenges, or you can say, this is not for me. I tell people don't quit, but you make a purpose decision or a strategic decision rather to change direction. So for people who are in careers or in jobs and they feel unfulfilled, you ask yourself, okay, you look at your abilities and you say, am I the best version of myself in this role? You know, and if you're not, then you owe it to yourself to put yourself in a situation to win. And it's just that simple. And you surround yourself with people who can encourage you as you encourage yourself to make that step. You do the research, and sometimes it's not all these fancy words. Sometimes it gets down to the grassroots where you do the research and you strategize and you make that decision. So for people who are on the wrong branch, I say to you first, you establish whether you are on the wrong branch, whether it's an issue of discipline or fit. Maybe you're just not disciplined. You need to get disciplined. So I tell you, put the discipline behind your craft. Push. If it still feels extremely unnatural and it goes against all of your inclinations, your God given abilities and strengths, and your inner circle, I'm a firm believer in inner circles. You have a quality inner circle who you can trust and ask. Because again, that awareness, these people can see you better than you see yourself. And you run it by them and say, listen, Sherlon, this is not you. This is not your ability. Then you make that strategic decision, that educated decision to begin on a path, to take your ladder off that wall, climb down, take the ladder off, and to fit yourself in a position to win. But I think the challenge, Jamie, is that we live in an economic world, and some people are bound by earning capacity, and you tell yourself, man, I make so much in this job. I hate it, but it's the family. And that's why I say I'm not a big fan of the career as much as I'm life fit. You can have a job that pays the bills, that fuels your passion. Your passion could be something that doesn't earn you a cent. When you understand that this job is not my passion, it's my family, but what I love doing is painting. And so I'm going to paint. And you create a situation in your life where you're doing what you love. So when you no longer hold your job to the highest, this job pays the bills. I can do it. I'm a good accountant. I'm going to do this thing to feed my family, to feed my family. But you know what I really love doing is volunteering, helping people out. So now you create an avenue for you to do just that. And as you lower the esteem of your job, as that thing, which is simply feed my family, and you fit yourself in a position where you can be yourself, you get the best of both worlds. But many of us try to marry the two. I need a career that does all those things, and then you feel unfulfilled and you feel like I need to stay. But yeah, you could. But sometimes you'd be surprised that you can enjoy this job and you take a few stripes off of it. It's not that you're not that important. You just need my family. What I really love doing is volunteering, coaching that people, helping young people out, or being a volunteer at my church. And you add some real time into this hobby or to this thing, that passion, and you find yourself being able to be happy because you've put yourself in a situation that matches a job that meets your abilities and your discipline, and an activity that meets your passion and your love and your energy. Some of us are lucky to get one that does both. But I tell people, no need to force it on one. You could probably have two or three things that you love doing. I don't know if I answered that
No,
question, but
that was deep there, because I get you dropped some real nuggets here. For example, you made the point that sometimes you have to think about your core responsibilities. You should not allow yourself to be imprisoned to a job. You need to think about your right fit, so that you may be doing something that you don't enjoy doing, but still find a place or a space in your life to embrace your passion and your purpose, so that while that is going on, you still feel satisfied, because it's not about choosing the right career, but choosing the right fit. It's not about choosing just what you feel like doing, but choosing something that allows you to exercise where your strengths and your passion and your purpose is, in terms of moving it forward. And my question that I'd like to follow up that with is, sometimes, Leon, you have a number of people who they feel, not only do they feel imprisoned, but they feel fearful of not satisfying what society would claim as a great career. So that person may be a lawyer or a doctor, and they know that that's not where their passion is. And they could be doing something else, but they're bogged down by what others may think, because that is, quote unquote, the ideal career choice or the ideal fit. How do you move away from that place? How do I think it Marcus Garvey and Bob Marley who said, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. How do you move in that direction to free yourself from that? Do you have any quick steps in terms of how people could take those steps in making those decisions, in taking the positive move towards liberating themselves and moving towards their fit, as opposed to moving towards a job that only satisfies their financial or family needs?
I think in HR, you meet a lot of people who come to you conflict, and many times people are upset with their managers because they feel like their managers should do better. For some reason, we think our leaders should be gods of integrity, um, and commitment and all those lovely, traits. And I said to them, I did a master's degree. I don't remember taking a vow of integrity. I don't remember taking a vow. And I tell them, I think you hold your manager or your boss in too hard to you bring it down a notch. Your expectations are you hold them too high of regard. And so lower your expectations of your boss. He's just a human. He's prone to fail. If you met him on a line at the bank and he stepped in front of you and you didn't know who he was, you say, dude, where are you going? You wouldn't know what his position is. 2 months later, he's your boss. You can talk to him. You have him in like godlike status. Similarly, with your career, again, as I said earlier, we are trained to think that I need to get this dream job that's going to take away all the stress and it's going to make me happy and fulfill all my dreams. But we're so much more dynamic, Jamie, that if you're an accountant, well qualified, but you feel like I ain't getting the vibe that I get when I'm out with my guys playing the saxophone, let's say on a weekend in the band. Man, when I do this, I feel like I'm in heaven. When I get to work, I'm an A employee, but I don't feel that vibe. I say to that person, that's what I said a while ago, hey, lower the expectations of your job. This job feeds your. I want you now to be deliberate about setting time aside for your passion. Let them coexist for you. And let's see where that takes you. Because again, you have to be careful. A lot of people, their jobs feed their families. And so I wouldn't advise people to step away just like that, But you feed your passion forward. And sometimes you realize that they can coexist. Other times you realize, oh my goodness, I have to change. And at that point, you do a gradual change. Of course, put the right resources, the right people around you, put the right economic things in place so that you don't go out in the street hungry, but you make a natural transition into your passion. But I think people are afraid to try different things. Successful people try different things. Everyone should have a couple of hobbies, a couple of passions that they pursue. Don't if you're only going to work every day, living, they say you work to live, you don't live to work. And some people are living to work. And so if you're just living to work, and if you're not happy in that job, you will be unfulfilled. However, if you're very deliberate and intentional in engaging in other activities that you feel that dynamic nature of who you are, you find yourself being successful. And that's why some people also they transition and progress within their career also because they're feeling their passion. They go this role, that role, and it's an evolution of the profession because they're feeling their passion. They're going after what they want to do.
Wow, sounds good. I like that, Leon, and because what am I hearing you to say that you may never ever have that ideal thing that we learned at school, that you're going to
Correct.
choose that ideal career and your behavioral assessment will have you line up with the right job. You're going to have the perfect boss. But you're saying that even if that doesn't happen, you should still create an environment that allows you to be fulfilled. And when you are aware of your passion and your purpose, find something to still support you in moving along that line.
Correct.
So you're living a full life and you're experiencing your best self.
Correct.
My follow-up question with this, Leon, and somebody sent a message that you're dropping some tight nuggets here, where they're asking if you could talk a little bit louder in the microphone. So if you could talk a little louder
Okay.
in the mic.
No
And
problem.
and the next question is, so you have somebody, and I got this question just now, whereby they have a job and they are enjoying their career and they failed at it and they feel like they should quit on that career, that job thing. Is there any such thing as mending the broken pieces after? How do you restart? Because you have some folks who have been laid off for several years. They have been out of the field. It might be a single mom or even a wife who took the time off to spend time with their kids and stuff like that. And it's now time for them to go back in the saddle. How do you restart? How do you have that juice running back in your mind? How do you build back that kind of relationship with your career or your job or with your fit? How do you do that after you have been out of the game for a while?
All right. The best way, small steps. Um, I try to work out. I try to work out off and on over the years, and every now and then you fall off the wagon. When my first daughter I had a nice streak going on, and my first daughter was born, and then I stopped for a few months, and I had to get back on that horse again. And my other daughter was born, second daughter was born, same thing. And what I do, and what I advise people to do is sometimes you have this ambition, you know how you look, used to how fit you used to be, and you want to go back to running a mile in 7 or 8 minutes.
You embarrass Don't embarrass me, Leon. Don't embarrass me, man.
All right. So I tell people just make small steps, create wins. Just this afternoon, I was talking to a team member who was explaining to me her difficulties in getting back to her previous levels of performance. And my advice to her was you just need a win streak. You need to go on a win streak to boost your morale and your energy again. And the best way to do that is a small wins. So before you did 20 pull-ups in a row, start off with 5. Small goal. You get to 5, you feel good. If you hit 5 reps, whatever, for the week, next week you go to 6. Gradual. You get to 6. You start to feel good about yourself because you're winning. And every time you win, you feel like going again. So to those people who want to get back into their careers, I say to you, ease yourself into it. Don't put the pressure on yourself. When people go into weight loss, I tell my friends who try it out, I say, aim for a pound a week. Like, sure, on a pound a week. I said, lose a pound a week for 1 year and tell me how different you're going to look. All right, 50 pounds. You look totally different. So a pound a week and you're going to feel good. Just take your time. Be patient with yourself. So for those of us who have struggled and you believe that you're in the right path, just need to keep pushing. I say create some small goals. Small, no win is insignificant. They're going to build as you continue, one at a time. Go for it. Just make sure you have your goals. And what you're going to realize is that over a period of time, you have so many victories. When you look back, it's going to bore your spirit up every day. You realize, wow, man, I'm running a mile in 8 minutes, 7 minutes. Wow, last week was 25. Now I'm at 7 because you have you have you have learned to be successful. Success has become a habit because you're winning. You're creating a habit of success. So small goals, no matter how insignificant they are, just keep them consistent, keep them frequent, and it's going to build you.
So I'm hearing you just say then, Leon, is that the small wins, celebrate the small wins, and when you're easing your way into a career or back into your career or back into your fit, just learn where the bathroom is to begin with, where the
Correct.
office is, where the mailbox is. Don't try to take over
That's
the
right.
office and try to be the superman or the superwoman.
That's right.
And once you do that, then you'll build momentum because you're getting small wins, you're doing the small things, you're taking baby steps, and in a matter of time you'll be able to take on harder
That's
opportunities or
right.
responsibilities, and at that point you'll have the wind in your back because you have a greater sense of confidence. So I'm hearing that once you do that, you will feed yourself enough energy to be successful because you're taking small steps as opposed to trying to do everything in the first bite.
Yeah, it's almost like Charles Darwin said it himself, the natural evolution of your greatness. Because you're growing into greatness every day. From the amoeba, you transform and you evolve into something great, as opposed to jumping. And every great athlete, every great person will tell you the little things become second nature. At first, they weren't second nature. But as you do, the coach is begging you to focus on the little things like, Coach, I want to go score goals. Say, no, 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 no. Protect the ball when you get it. Control the ball first. And for a whole week in practice, you're controlling the ball. Like, why, coach? But as you master those little things and you become successful as all of them, you develop that culture of success, that culture, the habit of greatness. And you evolve naturally, not forced. But every day you will just get little things that's building your confidence, building your abilities. So just take it slow, guys. The technique is just to progress. As long as you're progressing, you're on the right track.
Wow, that's powerful there. So, guys, you're hearing it. You're hearing from Sherlon Leon is that take it one step at a time, build the momentum. You may just be going back. Somebody just said, Sajimar, celebrate even the small victories, and that's what Leon was making mention of. So once you do that, you could push forward. Leon, I'm going to follow up with the question here: is that why is in this day and age, why is self leadership such an
Mm.
important thing as we talk about fit, as we talk about career? Why is it so important for us to practice self leadership in order for us to attain that level of momentum, that level of success, that level of satisfaction? And with everything that is happening, why is self leadership such an important factor in order for us to experience our best self?
Self leadership is important, Jamie, because who who are you going to trust to make you Jamie successful? Who? My question is it's very simple. Who cares about you that much? And who's able to put you where you need to be? I know your wife loves you and she will try her best, but it's practically impossible for any one of us to navigate another human being beyond the age of, let's say, 5 or 6. You have kids, and after a while, their mind is developed, and now that's why parenting is such a job. As they grow into full-blown adults, and they know what they want to do, and their bodies are telling their minds are telling them what they want to do, what they like, what they dislike. At the end of the day, there's not enough space in our psyche for two people. You're the only one who could fit in there. So self leadership is no other way. And I think sadly a lot of us we look to others to chart our destiny, our focus. It just can't happen. So I tell people, you see yourself as a CEO of yourself. You're the CEO of yourself, and it is your job to charter that brand to the next level, to chart that brand to the next level, to take it to the next level, to represent greatness. You are the CEO. You are the one who understands yourself, and so no one is going to take that journey. No one will do that for you. And even if someone decides to mentor you, that's all they can do. At the end of the day, they can tell you what to do, but you really want to do it. And so it's just really simple to me. If you do not deliberately take ownership of yourself, then you are, a car without a driver, a boat without a captain, that sort of thing. To me, there's just no other way about it. And I think a lot of people aren't successful because they're not deliberate about their life direction. And it's okay to pick the wrong direction. It's you may make mistakes. It's a bigger travesty if no one's behind the wheel because no one can fit except you.
Wow. I have a question here, Leon from Jacinth. She said that what do you do when you lose your passion, not because you don't like your career, but your success is dependent on others who have
Hmm.
let me read it. I'm going to repeat that question. What do
Yeah.
you do when you lose your passion, not because you do not like your career, but your success is dependent on others who have no interest in just doing the job?
Okay. And that sounds like someone in the workplace and they're looking for team and whether it's a supervisor or co-worker, as we see in the Caribbean, fight down. You know, they just don't want to do that. But that's a very good question, not a very easy answer, because whenever one's happiness or success, again, talking about self-leadership, whenever now you feel like someone else is in the driver's seat, you feel like you're at their beck and call, and they control your destiny. Um, First thing first, I was reading this book by this, I think I forgot his name, Barking Up the Wrong Tree, I think he did the book. And he was saying that there are many things that you can do to reignite your passion, gamifying your job, and creating extra passions within the job. But I would think the best thing to do, easy answer, you confront those folks, see if you can work with them. And if you can't work with them, you find you I would tell you to engage in personal development. As you do the job, try to see how you can develop within that role. And you make the decision to probably realign yourself with another company if those folks are unable to meet you where you are. Another interesting angle is maybe you can win them over. Many times we focus on being on the right track, and so I'm right and they're wrong. And so that mindset prevents you from working with those folks. Maybe you can take up the challenge of winning them over. You think they should come onto your side, come over to their side and win them over to your end, and see if you can probably take control of the whole narrative with your skills and abilities. But that's a very good question to the person who asked it, because I see it every day at work where people are upset with a manager or coworker who seem to be hindering their progress or their growth. Sometimes we overcome it, like I said, by winning those people over. Other times by getting your own passion in the job and kind of blocking them out with your own successes and victories. Other times it results in you having to leave and putting yourself in a better situation. But ultimately, I tell people that you work for yourself and you try to find that inner passion, try to block them out as much as possible. It's not always possible if this person needs to sign the paycheck or this one has to approve the budget or approve your ideas. And it may mean ultimately you may have to leave. But before you do that, try to win them over. Try to win
Wow.
them over. Go come out of aside of yourself, put your ego aside, try to win them over. And if you can't win them over, as we said, sometimes it's not wrong to make a deliberate decision to end a journey if you feel that you can't afford. I'll never fault someone remaining in a losing situation.
Wow.
I'd
And
love to
this
chat to that person about that if they want to chat about it. That's an interesting
definitely.
that.
And what I'm gonna do is that, guys, at the end of it, Leon is gonna share his contact and stuff like that, so we could follow up. This next person here, Bernard, she said, she's worked in the medical field for 35 years, quit my job and went into catering. After 5 years of catering, I now own my own food truck. I'm truly living my dream. So I
Right.
think that goes to what you said, Leon, is that sometimes you have to take that leap, not because you have been spending the last 30 years on the I-95 in the wrong direction. Sometimes you have to invest in your best self. You have to invest in fulfilling who you are.
Yep. And the point I want to stress too, it's good. I think I heard you mention that on one of your podcasts before. Surrounding yourself with the right people, having that network. Sometimes when you make that change, everyone's gonna say, what are you doing? You're great at what you do. You need people who understand you and know you to support you. Now you won't always get it, but it's always good to have someone in your corner when you make that scary shift.
Yep.
You know, it's always good to have people in your corner to support you.
And then I have here Della. She said, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Constantine. She said, "Good night. I'm currently wondering, what if you are somewhat forced to stay in the job you don't like? However, you deal or handle that. How do you deal or handle that situation if you're forced to stay in a job that you don't like?"
Well, Della, first of all, I'd love to know what you mean by forced. Is it that forced financially, you need the income, forced by some other person or organization or situation that has leads you there? But again, I think earlier we shared something. If you're forced and you're forced, you can't leave. I don't know if it's a legal issue or whatnot. Um, but if it's a matter of you feeling unfulfilled, um, you know, I encourage you to, possibly again reach out and find a passion somewhere else that works alongside that job, so that even if you're unhappy in that situation, you have joy somewhere else. You have fulfillment. You're able to be your best self and to put, align your daily activities with your strengths. Um, because if you're forced, man, again, that's a good one. If you're forced, there's nothing you can do but probably create another avenue for success. And that's all I could recommend at this time. Again, I'd love to, if I had more information on what you mean by force. Um, but again, do not feel that you're forced to get your happiness in one place. You're too dynamic as a human being to do one thing. And I challenge people, look up the great ones in this world. They're behind the scenes, there are other things that they did and they did very well. All right, so check it out.
And then we have here Judith said, "Thank you, Leon. After so many obstacles, I own my own business and I'm loving, although I'm still working in healthcare." So that's important. And I think those persons are sharing exactly what you're saying, Sherlon, is that you have to at some point make a decision, because it's not about career fit, it's about your fit and ensuring that you're living your and experiencing your best self in the
Correct.
journey in terms of doing that. And that brings me to, I'm seeing a lot of questions coming in at this point. Leon, I don't think we could take all the questions, but I'm going to jump to a next question here as we talk about fit. As you made mention about clarity in terms of where you are. You talked about self-leadership, leading yourself, understanding where you're going, and following your passion and your purpose, as opposed to following one that has been laid out before you by something or someone else. You also talked about the fact that you may be in a job or a career that you're not fully enjoying, but you have certain things that you need to take care of. And you make mention that you should still find the things that ticks your clock, and get engaged in those things, so that you're still experiencing some amount of fulfillment, even though you're in a career that you don't enjoy. So when the
Mhm.
time is right, you could leap, whether you change your ladder, change your tree, change your fruit, or change the highway that you're on, and do those things. So the next question here is that I'd like to hit you with is, how we in the light of COVID-19, how should people approach their careers and their overall level of performance? I don't know about you, Liam, but there are times when I've made the mistake before, and I stood up when I wasn't alive and I was wearing my PJs, and my wife had to text me and say, "Jamie, do you know that you're on camera?" And you know what my response was? At least they know that I'm a live person. You get what I'm saying? But that was just me trying to have a quick comeback. So the question is, how in the light of COVID-19, how should people approach their careers and their overall level of performance? Because everything seems to be changing now when it comes down to career and the job and everything like that.
I think it was last week I saw this post on Twitter. It read, "Working from home, living at work." Working from home, living at work. Um, it's an interesting situation that we're in. unprecedented time where all of our businesses all around the world have been forced to just change up because COVID-19 has forced us to 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 do things differently. My advice to people is to embrace the change. We hear about it, embrace change, embrace change. Well, guess what? Here's a case study on change, a real life case study on change. And I challenge myself and others to find a way to be great in this vulnerable time. I could tell you as a speaker, um, doing stuff online, you know, it's different. Having coaching sessions online is different because you train to look at the non-verbals and to see the look at the stares and to see the gestures of people. And you're unable to do that sometimes online, but you got to do it. You got to be successful. So for our audience, my advice is embrace the change and take it up as a challenge. See, how is it that I can be great in this with this handicap, you know? And for me, what I do when I talk to my sales force, um, 'cause I don't know if I mentioned to you, Jimmy, I recently transitioned into a sales manager position where I have a sales team. And one of the first things I told the team was just imagine, guys, this COVID-19, take this COVID-19 experience as your Bruce Lee training experience. You know, this movie, you know, with Jean-Claude Van Damme, where they go to this training regime and they have this bad guy they're going to fight at the end. You know, I said, we'll take it as this. You're now in the forest and you're training, and one day you're going to remove the weighted clothing, remove all the handicaps. When you come out of this COVID-19 experience, you'll be better for it. So my advice to people is embrace the change, be creative, find ways to excel within this new environment. Take time to keep your mind level and focused. It can be a very trying time mentally. Be deliberate about your breaks. Be deliberate about your pit stops, I like to call it. Take a pit stop because you need it for your development. Get back on the track and just embrace the creativity. Because guess what? The whole world is suffering from this handicap. So why not embrace it so you can have a lead, and be competitive as opposed to holding on to the old? Because I don't know about you, Jim, but I don't think we'll ever go back to life as it was. I just don't see that. So we gotta embrace the change. So for all of us at home, embrace it. Stop fighting up, embrace it.
And I like that, Ali. And the question I'm gonna ask you, you use a word here, and I know that we're running out of time, but I had to
Yeah.
hit that question because that question came to me and somebody dropped it here. The question is, how is it okay? We talk about the pandemic, you say embracing the change. We talk about career choices and stuff like that. We see a number of persons who are losing their jobs. We see a number of persons who are just out of it because everything is changing. Is it okay? How is it okay for persons to express some amount of agility when it comes onto their career and having that willingness to do something different in the midst of everything?
Yeah, man. Again, we are trained to solve problems. We're trained that if the problem is too difficult, you stick to it and you conquer it. And there's a certain level of guilt you feel from quitting. When you quit something, you feel like, oh, I did the wrong thing. And we've been raised and socialized to do that. However, we need to understand as we develop in our careers in life that it is okay to make a strategic decision to not do something, to be intentional, to be deliberate about not doing something. There's nothing wrong when you stop, you assess the situation, and say, you know what, I'm losing. If you're in the stock market and you're buying and you keep losing, will you keep buying stock? No, you stop and you jump out. So similarly, you know, I encourage people to be decisive and make a decision. It's okay. You'll be all right.
Wow. So Leon, is there any quick tips you want to give somebody out there? I know that we have a lot of youngsters who are listening and some who are watching, and they're thinking about choosing a career, is there any quick tips you want to share with them? I know that those who were here from the start, you shared things about how do you go about. You have to first be aware of where you are, who you are, your strengths, your weaknesses, the opportunities that are around you. But what are some quick tips that you'd like to leave with persons at this point, understanding that we're living in a totally different world? What are some of the quick things or the quick 3 steps or 4 steps that they could take in terms of looking in that path?
Okay. The first thing first, believe in yourself. That faith in yourself is contagious. If you don't believe in you, I ain't going to believe in you. All right. So I'm just telling you, it's contagious. You got to believe in yourself. That's the first thing. The next thing I would say is what I did say to be in this time, be prepared to be creative, to step out of your comfort zone and do something different. While you were speaking, I had this thing in my head, just sticking, trying to get it back. Important for the young folks. Be creative, believe in yourself, surround yourself with quality people. And don't be afraid to align yourself with your strengths. I said it earlier. Don't be afraid to align yourself with your strengths. If God made you a talker, you find a job that gets you to talk. During this COVID-19 time, a lot of young people have abilities, they have skills, but because they don't believe in themselves, they're not going to go out there and post on social media, put their talents on display. If you don't know your horn, it's going to do it for you. And I want to encourage the young folks out there to put yourself out there, put your abilities on display, let someone see how good you are. And when you believe in yourself, you realize that faith in yourself is very contagious.
Well, Leon, I said I wasn't going to take question, but we had to take this question. I know you see the name on this. We have to take this question. My friend here, Latar, she said, sometimes you choose a career path, but somewhere along the line, something else that you love and are good at. There doesn't have to be just one path to success. There are many ways to success.
Correct. I agree with that totally. I agree with that totally. You can do a lot of things great. One of my favorite basketball players, LeBron James.
What about
Anyone who
Kobe
knows me
Bryant? Come
well.
on, are we gonna have that discussion or what?
No, no, no. I'm a Kobe fan. We all love Kobe, but I'm with Bron from day one. And one thing I always admire about LeBron is that he's into so many different things and he does so many of them well. And he's empowered so many people around him and given power him to do great things. And when you look around successful people, you realize there's so many people like that. The great ones are always good at a lot of different things if you just delve into their lives a little bit. And so again, we are forced to think this fairy tale that you need this dream job, you know, and live in the picket fence and live in the house with the picket fence and all that stuff. But you can be good at different things. And to the people out there listening, you are great beyond measure. Samson says the next big thing could be you, but you're pigeonholing yourself into this job. And so you're not going to be great because you could have a chain of food trucks right now. You could start an ad gallery. You could have that famous blog going on right now. That barbershop conversation, all the guys love to hear from you. You could go out and start blogging about it and be great. But people just feel like, I got a steady job. Our parents say, you got a steady job. What are you doing, boy? You stupid. Stay, step out there and you be great.
That and I like that because sometimes we fail to be great because of the fear of what others may think as we're on the journey to get to our best self. Leon, it's such a pleasure having you here,
Yeah,
and I
man.
just want to show you guys that Leon is also an associate speaker with Pottingers and Associate, where we do the strategic alignment leadership, and he has dropped so many nuggets on us this evening in terms of how we should, and I'm gonna replace my word with his word because he's the expert. He said that not about finding the right career, but finding the right fit. Because the fit speaks more that to a job, while the career may speak to the given assignment that you have. And we're not about assignment here. We're about fulfillment and we're about sustaining the excellence as we do that. And uh, Jasin said here, embrace the change is easier said than done, especially when you are in a managerial position and your team is now working in different locations. Dag, Leon, Leon, I don't know. I know that we had a cutoff point here. I'll have to write a bigger check for this one, but do you have anything to drop on this here in terms of different locations? This question that was just thrown at us here.
Well, what I would say to this viewer, listener, I kind of relate to that now. I'm in a position where I have a team and everyone's working from home. People are being tested positive for. Just today, I was talking to a team member who tested positive for COVID, and she's at home. And her team is being managed, but she can't connect with them because she's not feeling well and she's isolating and whatnot. And it's very difficult. I don't want to mispronounce your name, so I won't try. But what I would say to you is, and what I'm trying to tell myself, and this may not be expert advice, but I'm in the situation now, is you just see it as a challenge and you rise to the occasion. So what I'm doing, I'm trying to look at ways to make my presentations online more creative. Find a way to put animation in them, right? Because you're having these meetings and folks I'm pretty sure they're probably doing some other assignments. Because all of us who have these team meetings, share these virtual meetings, there's this time when the whole room gets silent, and you're wondering, I wonder if there is, some mics are off, some cameras are off. So I'm looking at ways where I can get my team engaged through maybe probably purchase a few pieces of software that can put some animation, some scribbles, do different things to win them over. And I'm embracing it because I'm telling myself, listen, Sherlon, what if this thing goes on for another 5 years? There has to be an opportunity. And I just remember that piece of advice, Jamie, I'd have for the young folks. The next opportunity you have will be the one you create. The next opportunity you have will just be the one you create. And don't be afraid to create your own channel for success. You see, when we're all competing to be successful, we're all running after the same piece of cheese. But what if I'm manufacturing my own cheese? I just make my own cheese and now it's mine. So similarly, what I'm trying to do is to get on top of this whole COVID work from home, this whole challenge thing, and see if I can become a master of this new environment. As I tell myself, if I become a master of this environment, I have an advantage because we're all equal. Whoever was ahead of me, we're all equal now. None of us, no one can say, well, my name is Sherlon and I have 10 years in pandemic experience. In fact, I was there during the Spanish flu and I know exactly what to do. No one can do that. You check what I'm saying? So Jacinth, I think the name was, embrace it and tell yourself, listen, we're all equal now. Let me see if I can get an advantage. And like I said, I'm going through it right now. It's difficult, but we all need to put ourselves out there and see if we can be the winner.
Wow, that's powerful. And guys, we have to go now. As Leon introduced himself earlier, he has 2 kids and he has a wife and all that good stuff.
Right.
But Leon, it's always a pleasure working with you as an associate member of Partners and Associates and a speaker, coach, and all those areas. I've personally benefited from what you have to offer. Do you mind sharing a little bit about your brand and where they can find you and stuff like that?
Okay, well, in the interest of time, I'll keep it simple. You guys could, I have an IG page, Instagram. You could hit me up, Sherlon Leon, at IG. No dots, just Sherlon Leon, my name, at IG. I'll reach out to you. You can reach out to me through there. And I keep it simple. You hit me up there and you could always connect. I have some posts there and you can always link to my blog, which admittedly, thank you very much. I see it on the screen. Yeah, professional vibes. Admittedly, I haven't posted on my blog for a little bit because when my kids came, those of you who have children, they kind of, man, they take charge of your life. But then with work, being a senior manager, it takes a lot of my time. But Jamie, just talking to you inspired me to get back on that horse. I need to take some of my own advice and get back on there. And if I would say to the viewers, when I started my blog, that was part of the reason. I felt like that's something I wanted to do, and I didn't have that opportunity to my work to reach out to people. So I stepped up and I started the blog. I was a little bit vulnerable. I felt a little bit naked, putting myself out there. And I got some nice feedback, and it was really lovely. And that's why I advise people to put yourself out there. It really makes a difference. You'd be surprised that you're great. You're great. You're great. Usain Bolt was an ordinary young man, and then there was greatness within him. He was Usain Bolt before he was Usain Bolt. And someone out there, you are that great person. You don't even know it yet, And I look forward to seeing and hearing about all the great stories that come out from your work, Jamie. You're doing a great job reaching out to people, providing inspiration and hope. And I was happy to be on here today to share with your viewers and with your tribe.
Definitely, guys. It's a pleasure joining for you guys to join us today again at with the Strategic Alignment Podcast. Again, I'm Jamie Pottinger, speaker, coach, and trainer, and strategic alignment expert with Pottingers and Associates. And I was joined by an associate member of Pottingers and Associate, and also the founder and brainchild behind Life Fit Matters. Look him up, check him out, and see what's happening. For those who are joining us now, I see a number of persons joining us. If you could go to our YouTube page, that's Pottingers and Associates Consulting, and please like, follow, subscribe, follow us on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and share with a friend. Every other week we're here for the Strategic Alignment Podcast, and today was no different. We had my friend, my mentor, and I'm the bigger one, but he's really the bigger brother, if you want to put whichever way you want to put it. But but we have been through a lot of things together. And just to share something vulnerable here, as he talked about his two daughters, I remember when I was expecting my first child. And I think he was the first person I shared that I'm having a girl. And we're having a trip on the road heading to Pittsburgh just to hang out. And he made sure to let me know that, Jamie, you're having a girl. You need to connect with that girl from an early age. So, look, man, I appreciate it. You've always been there. Human resource management has always been in your DNA. And I thank you for joining us today. And all those who are viewing, you'll be hearing more from Sherlon Leon from Life Fit Matters with Pottingers and Associates as we do things to inspire growth and sustain excellence. And this is a Strategic Alignment Podcast. At this point, I know that I have my associate also be taking away with some music and some clips. So guys, please look up Leon and follow him, like his page, and let's just get some value for the team. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you for listening to the Strategic Alignment Podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please subscribe to our podcast by visiting our website at www.pottingerandassociatesconsulting.com.